Surely here with Sirius Dallas Moon. Jupiter hour, actually already Saturn night, and the moon is 13 degrees Aries, accentuating on the line opposition between Mars in Libra, that's going to conjoin the chart of Israel, and Chiron in Aries. Um, and yeah, there was something with Israel unaliving Hamas. I don't know if that's true. I was sitting at a cafe having a cup of water after digging a half moon in open fields, no harm. And then what happened was a couple of folks, I don't know if they were Shabak, Mossad, or just folks, were like, hey, they killed all of Hamas in Doha, the elite of Hamas in Doha. And I'm like, okay, I guess I need to call my mom to let her know I'm alive. Um, and then they said that they didn't. Um, yes, I have a parent that says that the movies are better because it's everybody acts from different interests. And yeah, um, but if they kill human traffickers um, under the guise of terrorists, I think it's time to um, do something about the wealth families that consolidate wealth by, um, you know, I don't know, Bildenbergenbelsen. Um, Bildenbergenbelsen is actually the tool that is used to consolidate wealth. And I think some of them are finding it out right now. And the sky that punishes the land loses the mandate of the heaven, be it Mao or we the people. So reforestation, remineralization, Venus is in a toxic degree, 18 degree, that was defined by assassinated astrologer Nicolas Stoyanovich as pure evil. Um, and yeah, that's a good time to look at the chart of the UN. So let's see, UN natal chart. France might diminish the number of Mossad agents working in its territory. Uh, Honorable Macron, the CIA, Oak CIA, Oak CIA. Anyway, um, I mean, I could do with the lifestyle whenever the ticket for the bus is a penny more than raid the streets and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's how you maintain civil society. But bingo expandable children, Paris. Anyway, UN natal chart. And I had a mishap with the EU, but natal chart. Now the UN. I don't know if Macron has beef with Rothschild. I like. I know I haven't done a synastry in a while. Anyway, Go check what Mark is doing in the Arctic. And now this is the UN, October 24, 1945, 4:50 p.m. Washington D.C. So 22. Oh no, because Chiron is going to go. Chiron will be going over the chart of the UN. 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 EU. Belugas. 22 ascendant Mars conjoining Saturn next to Procyon. It's kind of like the JFK chart. But Sun in Scorpio. Oh, Pluto is squaring the UN chart. Pluto is squaring the UN chart. I mean, if France is going to have a Mossad-free country, it will be colonized. Pluto squaring the Sun of the EU, the UN. That Procyon. Mars conjoining Saturn on Procyon. Well, Mars in Cancer is kind of like, this is where the fixed stars help. It's a level of analysis that helps, because by the science we would say, why Cancer? Okay, but they're surrounding Procyon. So it's kind of like, it's supposed to be denucleaриfication, world peace, and kind of maintaining the balance. So far so good. And Saturn is the ruler of the midheaven. Oh my God, this is actually kind of a genius position for a chart. People are like, we thought you would talk about positions in other yeah, but your positions are pro many things that don't allow people to celebrate positions. 22 Moon in Gemini. So murderous nations. And Uranus 17. I know. No, I'm not jabbing just one prime minister. I'm sorry. This is everyone. They're all in it. Anyway. X, yes. Uranus 17 degrees. Why not make it even more conspicuous? Uranus 17 degrees Gemini. Vulcan with, oh my God, people with Moon in the middle decan of Gemini. Jupiter in Libra in the 7th house. Venus, Neptune, 7 degrees. Sitting pretty in between Vendia metrics, and it's kind of supposed to be the people pleasing with espionage and a lot of mafia, because Neptune rules mafia and drugs as well. And now people are like, but you have Neptune next to your midheaven. Yes, and don't die, deal with that dumb fuckery. So, Pluto 11 degrees, also filmmaking and channeling, it's true. Pluto 11 degree Leo. So basically, the main event is Pluto going over the sun of, squaring the sun of the EU chart in the 8th house, which is invisible leaders, and the Saturn Neptune in conjuncting the sun. At the same time. So there is a leader's crisis. and also disillusionment around something, while Uranus is also in conjuncting the transit in Uranus, and we're gonna have its Civil War o'clock for this chart because it's another Uranus Gemini. And so what would a Civil War clock look like? So in a military organization, we already saw that soldiers decide to strike, which doesn't seem abnormal for the army, except that their strike is against striking. And now the UN is a bit polarized now. Ain't the UN polarized always? But the UN is now going to actually be active about being polarized. Why did I even look at this chart? UN news. Okay, so they're supposed to be polarized, like about the topic of Ukraine and Israel. Illusion stripped away. I said disillusionment. Thank you, Al Jazeera. No, I don't. I don't know what to do about the fact that you've been bombed out of Palestine. What to know about the 18th UN General Assembly? Now, before this kind of a world war began, World War, Cold War began, I said that the Security Council, which is consisting of the P5, which is the countries that won the Second World War, those are the countries that can veto or that can veto an attack. Now, Russia is a part of the P5. And because of the war in Ukraine, that's been. And the thing is that USA is also a part of the P5. China, France, Great Britain. So we are already like actively attacking Russia. Russia probably vetoed the military invasion to Russia. And they talk about Palestine, which is okay. They actually are consisting of the countries. And the question, will they acknowledge Palestine while Russia is being dismantled? Um, Now, why is Russia being dismantled? It's not that Russia is being dismantled in the sense that the world is going to conquer Russia and so on. It's dismantled in the P5 because, in praxis, the veto is kind of not really. Now, let's take a look. China is not in NATO, and actually, we're talking about Macron. He's actually emphasizing the fact that negotiations with China is not something that people can give up on, but China has raised the taxation over import of pigs by 62% of pigs from Europe, and so they're going to have local pigs now that they have made an artificial sun outside, and so many Chinese are dead. I think they're going to be able to feed them with the local pigs. That affected the economy. Pigs Bay, Pigs Bay, Pigs Bay. That affected the economy of Netherlands, Germany, France, and wherever they grow pigs, basically. Um, yeah. So that was on point, um, which basically the square from Pluto and the fact that the shade kind of began when the Ukraine war started, to be very honest. Um, and as it accentuates now on the 1 degree, with Pluto on 1 degree, Mars is going to go over, and I don't know if there's going to be like a dissolution, but there is, in Hebrew, there is the word shmum, and which basically means kind of like disregarding the UN, the UN, the EU. Um, and I think we practically see that, yes, in praxis. What does it mean? Um, Pragmatically, they acknowledged, let's say, the existence of Israel, so it was important, but also that set the new state in a state of tremendous war that had to be funded for it to exist as a political entity. So let's say they acknowledge Palestine tomorrow, then Palestine will have to fund for its war, and that's the thing, that if it's going to, Israel funded with shilumim that were from Germany, and now the thing is, if Palestine wants to fund from shilumim, Israel has to exist. Now it probably does want to drain the capital of Israel, which is competition with the wealth families that consolidate wealth by Bildenbergenbelsen. um, do they have a chart? Bildenberg Group natal chart. The astrogeography. Okay. This is by Georg Stockhorst, and you have his website, astrogeography blog. Okay. So we have a chart for the build. We have a chart for Arnhem, Netherlands. Okay. Um, the moon. Oh my God, the moon is same moon as two Dutch leaders, and my Mercury and Rao for NATO. Chiron, um, end of Aquarius. They have a moon. Oh, the Chiron for the chart of Bildenberg Group is around the third decan of Capricorn, and it's basically a wound around mind control. I said what I said. And Rao in the middle decan, which is fair. It's kind of like I call it the prepper's decan. And so by Austin Coppock's work of the 36 phases, and Mars in the first decan, Mars exalted in Capricorn. How do they draw Neptune? Neptune in Libra. Sol in Leo. Nee. No. Neptune in Libra. Sol in Gemini. Okay. I'm going to transmit that telepathically. Um, it has Sol Rao with me, but yes, and it's a thing on the degree. It's not too far from Aldebaran, which makes sense. Mercury at the end of Gemini. Um, Jupiter Cancer. They had a Jupiter. They had a Jupiter return, and now as Jupiter the retrograde will be going again on Jupiter and not Mercury but Jupiter, and then back. Venus in Cancer, kind of sweet, but all with Ketu. For those who are doing Uranian astrology, that would be interesting to have there. And where is Saturn? Why is this chart missing things? This is, oh, that's the 2015 conference in Tyrol. But this one was the first conference, so this is the natal chart. It is, yeah. Anybody who is doing mental synastries, the moon position is interesting. Oh, Neptune is with Spica. Now this is an interesting conjugation. You see, I saw it also for the WEF. Those points, Neptune with Libra, is actually supposed to be mafiosi justice and fair trade for mafiosi people. It's kind of supposed to be like trade works in mysterious way, and it's supposed to like holistically and mysteriously work in a way that is somehow fair. But again, take any chart, and if the person was unfortunately growing up to those tortures, and this is the Chiron point, they have a Chiron on mind control. Yeah. Let's see. So they have the astrocartography. Hotel Bildenberg is located at 10th degree of the dynamic male fire sign Aries in the sign of warfare, act in ignition, and in its opposition sign at around 13 degrees of the service-oriented aristocratic air sign Libra of peace, openness, relationship, consultation. The guy's caring for his life, balance, stage, and performance in exchange. Only me. I cannot. I need to job mark. No one. Absolutely no one. Neurodivergent astrologer. So, but astrology is like also ruling over neurodivergence. Constellation shows that both two initial aspects of interaction in politics are included in selected sites. The confrontation of opposites is no definite explanation for effective manipulation of politics. but rather stands for the discussion of topics. My God. Okay, let's have an actual reading. Sun is supposed to be close to Aldebaran, which means taking over land by any means necessary. They're probably not working with Archangel Michael. Um, Moon Ashvini, which kinda is supposed to be the healer of healers, um, and that's just uh, Aries, which is about self-preservation and the access to the medical field, also the holistic medical field. Neptune Spica, so that they will have the advantage of um, even if things go wrong, then things go out somehow fairly. And so this is actually a good position for this organization. Now Chiron and Eris are going over this moon. Yeah, the eclipse in Libra is just activated Jupiter, but they have a Jupiter return. And Mars in Capricorn exalted. Where is Saturn? Oh, they paint Pluto with this weird. No, this is Uranus. Uranuketu. Makes sense because it was still in Cancer, so this is Uranus. But where's the glyph for Pluto? They paint it so weird. This is Ceres. I don't see it as a Pluto. It's, my God, this is Pluto in Leo. They painted Pluto like an eclipse. I thought it is Uranian astrology. Anyway, um, yeah, so Pluto it is still far, I think, from, yes, it is still far from Procyon. So this is stellium in Cancer with Ketu, which means they're not really nourishing, but they're going towards bonds and stuff, but I need to identify Saturn here. Where is Saturn? Saturn is missing from this map. This is not Saturn. It's supposed to be in Leo. Saturn is supposed to be in Leo here. Just because it's 1954, then it's in Sagittarius. No, Scorpio. That is Saturn. My God, they painted Saturn so weird. This program is weird, but this is Saturn. That's how they painted Saturn. It kind of looks like a series. Anyway, yes, it is Saturn. They painted the glyph that we pay. We use that glyph when we do astrological magic. Anyway, Saturn, Scorpio, Saturn, Neptune, and we have the opposite, not the opposite, but the in conjuncting Saturn, Neptune now. Saturn, Neptune. Which means the Bildenberg group was very likely involved in the dissolution of the Soviet Union and this current dissolution of everything of the world. And so, but Neptune with Spica, Saturn retrograde in Scorpio. Yeah. Look, the chart is not that horrible. The wound is around mind control, which means that this is a structure that has a wound around mind control, and Scorpio is psychosexual, kind of. So psychosexual based mind control wound. And this, by the way, when I say that, I mean that this organization members suffer from that. Not just that they perpetuate. Like I said, you want an actual reading? That's an actual reading. Um, and yeah, Gemini, which is adaptability. Mercury in Gemini, again, adaptability. And we do have an ascendant. Midheaven Aquarius. Pluto is going over the midheaven of Bildenbergenbelsen. And the ascendant with the sun. This is a chart I will need to meditate on. Rahu. But you know that Ketu Cancer, with the moon in Ashvini can be losing the physical manifestation of motherland's nourishment, mom's fertility, and literally the menstrual cycle, because it's like blood. But Mars with Rahu. Rahu Mars is a shit-ton of conflicts, and Saturn Scorpio is shit-ton of conflicts because of psychosexual wounds to do with mind control. So this is the big problem with this group. Yeah. And Sedna is not too far from the moon as well. In those years, Sedna was around the moon. That was 1954. The Ketu they have is on women, children, moms, and the type of, yeah, it's kind of like losing the nourishing part of those things to endless wars and combat because of psychosexual wounds. And that makes these combats also not yielding. Now Pluto is Pluto is squaring Saturn for Bildenberg. This is why I said Bildenbergenbelsen. Because I'm like, there must be a reason I said that, other than the fact that it's like obvious. But but there must be a reason I said that at this time. As an astrologer, I always look to the charts and the context, and that's what it was for me, because basically Pluto is squaring their Saturn. Oh my God. This is just, yeah. This is why the world is so terrible. Um, and it's the eighth house. Uranus will be going over the sun, but right now it just entered the first house. So, and there Uranus is in Cancer, so it's not like civil war o'clock. It's just there's going to be, around the leadership of this group in the coming years, there's going to be a lot of upheaval, so to speak. Midheaven in the ninth house, ruled by the Saturn, and Pluto going over the midheaven, of course. The Saturn-Neptune world will happen in the 11th house, again ruled by this Mars, so shit ton of fighting because of psychosexual mind control. And also programming. And yes, Pluto is opposing the Nebalgedi. But this is ook for NATO. No, NATO is a bit earlier. My gosh, this chart is not looking pretty right now with the transits. You see, these are people that since they are born, they grow into extradication of any kindness, and they grow into a North Korea or the Holocaust and so on. That's what helped me understand, because for me it was like, yeah, people in the Holocaust had to do that. Yeah, people in the Holocaust had to do that. Yeah, people in the Holocaust. Okay, then now those are our leaders, the people that had to do that. And that is um, and that is it's kind of like they're going through all this, and what for? Going through that in the Bildenberg group. And for people to look at it as karma. It's just beyond bizarre. Um, yeah. There was like an attempt to prevent the prevention of the Holocaust. And so, at the same time, yes, it is obvious that continuing to do Holocausts is not good. But this is not an easy transit at all. For some people, it's actually, for the Pluto Virgos, particularly the ones that had like the late 60s, this Pluto is actually, well, trining their Pluto still, and sextile in Saturn. So that can remediate that. That being said, this is not an easy transit for the Bildenberg. Like, I don't know if like to opt out of this group would be a good decision. Um, um, because it's kind of like, hey, if that thing exists, then people want to have a point of interference within the organization, and I get that. And then there's the question of, I addressed it when I did the Genghis Khan chart. Like whether, like whoever Genghis Khan was, the the thing that I said are still true, it's kind of like it's a tautology. So yeah, this is what I have to say. Like, it's not I have, other than that, it's not like I have anything too smart to say, because, hey, it's not like to be in indigenous tribes that mistreat children, mistreat women, and it's always done in such secrecy. And if somebody talks about it, then they are being exiled from the tribe, and then they run into other tribes and see those things happen. And maybe that's how they build the Bildenberg group and such stuff. So I don't really have anything like smart to say for the world, other than, if the entire world doesn't do stupid, then it will be more difficult for people not to get away with stupid, because it's beyond getting away. It's kind of like being forced to perpetuate. And when the doors out of violence are quite intense, knowing that the trajectory is still a trajectory. Okay, so it's kind of like, hey, you can get away with everything, you can get away with that. What is the blessing? Bone marrow. Well, they did exactly the things that prevent that from being. Um, yeah, it's like terrible, but I don't really have anything smart to say. But it's interesting that we have the chart, that we have the Bildenberg chart on him. Yeah. So that's the video.